Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 2022 State of the School Address for North Shore Country Day. I'm hoping that I can move through some of these things with some dispatch in about 40 minutes. We have an ambitious agenda, to be sure, and then leave some time for questions at the end. There'll be some instructions in a minute about questions. So welcome. I want to make sure I'm on the right. There we go. So we'll start here with this beautiful picture of our beautiful campus. It doesn't look quite that nice outside right now as I walked over, but we really are lucky and blessed to have the facilities, the resources, the campus that we have. I'm going to look forward to telling you a lot about what's been going on this campus. I am not going to dwell on this slide. If you want to go back and read it, you can. But my name's Tom Flemma. I'm the head of school, and this is my 6th year at North Shore Country Day. And I have a daughter who is a senior here, Bella, and a son who is in 8th grade, Max. So why don't we get started? At any time along the way, if you have questions, there's a button on the bottom that says Q&A. Please feel free to use that. Only the host and co-host can see those questions, and then they'll be fed to us, and we'll do our very best to answer them along the way here. If not, if we can tell who you are, we will follow up. So this is where I wanted to start. And this picture is from past September, and it's a picture of our opening morning exercise. And Morning X, it has been a part of North Shore Country Day since we opened our doors in 1919. It's a really important part of our entire pedagogy, our entire approach to school, because it's about being together in community. And one of the things that I like about this picture and why I wanted to start with this is because for the first time that we're aware of in our history, we held our opening Morning X outside this year for obvious COVID reasons. And I like the fact that that to me represents how we can take long-standing traditions, things that are important to us, and we can adapt them. We can be creative. And there's really been no era, I think, in our history where we've had to do the same sorts of creativity and adaptation as we have during these crazy times over the last 2 years. So our goal for tonight is twofold. I'm going to try to do a relatively swift overview of the current school year, things that have been going on, and then try to take a little bit of a deeper dive into a few of the initiatives that we're focused on besides COVID and things that come directly out of our strategic plan. So, but we need to start here, as we always do, with our mission and our values. These are the things that not only guide the work that we do, but I think also really help make us a distinctive place. So there are a lot of schools in the world, and there are a lot of really good schools. So let's see, I want to just make sure. Okay. So I want to make sure that the photo is showing right, that the screen share is showing right. One of the things I think that makes us distinctive as a school is how all of these things here on the screen combine to talk about not just a classroom, but a community, an approach, a way of doing school as we talk about it. So that means that kids have a unique opportunity at North Shore to grow and to stretch and to become their best selves. And they are surrounded by teachers, and they are surrounded by administrators and parents who are involved in the school. And you combine those things together with excellent academics, with a commitment to service, a commitment to inclusion. And you get something that's very special. I think that's more than the sum of its parts. And hopefully you're going to see that through the rest of this presentation as well. So we'll keep going here. And why do I wanted to start here? Somebody told me not to include this slide. Well, 2 years ago was the last time that I gave this address. And we were just gearing up for our big centennial benefit. And we were lucky enough to have that party down at the United Center. It was the party of the century, but it's hard to imagine that it's been 2 full years where COVID has really overtaken all of our lives. This seems like 100 years ago itself, this party. So what I want to do is talk briefly about COVID and then move on, because there's a whole lot more going on at school than just COVID, even though it might seem like it's the only thing going on. So up here on the screen, I think, especially for parents who are new to the school this year, these were the guiding principles for us as we have tackled the various iterations of COVID over the last 2 years. We are entering year 3 very soon. And it's hard to even comprehend that and say that, but that's true. When we think about the different iterations of school over the last few years, from that first spring of remote learning, we moved on to a full year last year where we were in person in various iterations. It has been quite a ride, and it has been, I think, the hardest 2 years for any of us as educators in our entire career. But there's also on this slide an incredible amount to be proud of. And these things that we did together. Faculty, staff, administrators, parents, trustees, friends, alumni. And I think one of the things that is really most amazing about what has happened over the last 2 years has been, again, that ability to continually adapt. And I believe that that is evidence of, or proof of, or a really good indicator of a school that is doing a lot of things really well. Because if you can adapt and thrive under these incredibly hard circumstances, I feel really confident that we can continue to grow and adapt and evolve as a school to be our best selves. And one of the things I think that's super important for us to remember is, you know, there's a heck of a lot more going on campus than saliva testing every week. These are just a few of the pictures from this year. And these aren't the classroom pictures, but these are the fact that your kids, my kids, our kids are in person, and they are finding some normal. They are finding some joy. And school without joy in a regular time is not a good place to be. Even during the craziest of times, it has been an absolute privilege for us to provide some joy, some stability, and some normalcy for our students, for our families, even for our teachers. So, you know, life has been vibrant, and life has continued in the classroom and out over these last 2 years. And I'm excited for what's going to come ahead. And one of the main reasons for that is our amazing teachers. Our faculty and staff have gone above and beyond 100,000 times over the last 2 years. And they're not done yet, but they're tired. We're all tired of where this pandemic has taken us. And I couldn't be more proud to stand aside a group of teachers who are really just fantastic at what they do and have left it all out on the field there for kids, because that's why they got into this business in the first place, is working with kids and caring for kids. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that they've done. So moving on from COVID into some nuts and bolts about how things run at school and how they've been running this year. These are just a few of the topics that I want to touch on briefly. Obviously, we can answer questions on them along the way. So our budget. Your budget should reflect your mission. Our mission, as we started off with, is the lens that we use for every decision that we make. And our budget is very similar to the budget of most independent schools, I would say. And you can see a lot of blue on this screen. our single greatest, our overwhelming source of revenue is tuition. And we are lucky to have our parents paying tuition so that we get to work with their children. And as you can see up here, about 78% of our annual operating budget, which is just under $20 million, comes from tuition and other fees. And then what do we use that money on? Well, you can see down on the bottom slide, fully 76% of that money goes towards our human capital, our people, the most important part of this school. The rest barely make up a quarter. So one of the things that I always try to talk to people about is, that your tuition dollars really are going directly towards people. And it is then the additional work that we do that you hear from volunteers in the development office about annual giving, about capital giving, and about the benefit every year, which help us to pay the bills and to continue to grow. One other tool that we have in our toolbox is our endowment. And an endowment is a critical part of life for a school like ours, because it not only provides our long-term safety net for the health of the school, but also our short-term operating revenues also depend on our draw from endowment. So over generations and over 100 years of generosity from Raiders near and far, our endowment has grown to a place where it is, looking at my screen, almost just over $36 million. That's the highest it's ever been in our history. And that is a result of a lot of people who have prioritized North Shore and our students and our future in the way that they think about giving to our school. And it also reflects in the last year or two, some really nice activity from the stock market as well. But without our endowment, we would struggle to get through the day-to-day, as well as think about long-term important events, important topics like we'll see in just a moment. And that, extra 25%, that gap between tuition revenue and expenses really comes from these things that you see up here on the screen. So annual giving, if you don't know why you've been asked to give to the school on top of tuition, that gap is why. And thanks to the hard work of a lot of volunteers and the generosity of a lot of people, we have a really strong annual giving program. And we also are working towards a capital campaign, which we'll be talking more about. One of the other things that's really important for us today, as the school continues to grow and get stronger, is talking about who we are out in the public. So our marketing and branding work is fundamentally important. So we have a unified face, so people know who we are out in the community. And so people can have ready access to us as a school if they're currently enrolled or if they're interested in the school. So our website, for instance, which we've updated recently, that's a crucial tool, not only for our current parents to know what's going on at school, but for prospective families, because it's the most common entry point for people who are looking to make educational choices for their children. And finally, you'll be hearing very shortly about our new app that'll be coming out. It'll be really convenient for all of us to get things like news and calendar and the directory. And we're really excited to roll that out very soon. I talked about prospective families and educational choices. This is the time, as most of you know, where those decisions become really important, re-enrollment and new enrollment to the school. So our admissions office works incredibly hard to make sure that our school is full of these students of exceptional purpose, promise, and ability. Perry Dunlap Smith was our very first head of school, the founder of the school, and those words continue to ring true. So here's a little data for today, and it's there's some great news, I think, to be able to share around admissions. We have this year the highest enrollment we've ever had as a school. And I'm incredibly proud to say that. And that's also a testament to the work of our teachers above all, and to the work of our parents who spread the word about the school. 547 students. Our retention rate of 92% is very high. We're very proud of that. We want it to be 100, and we keep working towards that. And the yield on our applicants of 63% is strong in the independent school world. But that also means we are dependent on getting that word out, and you are the #1 people who help us get that word out. And part of the word, we don't do a whole lot of crowing about ourselves as a school, but there's plenty to crow about. Some of the things that you see up here, these rankings below are from niche.com, which is a commonly used community-based website, especially around real estate. And those numbers are pretty good. We're going to keep working on them. But we're proud that other people, particularly our current families, have recognized the work that we do and how hard we have been working to make a good experience for your kids. And then up in the upper right, we were named the best independent school on the North Shore by Better Magazine this year. Okay. This is a really interesting map. I try to include this every year, and we change it and update it every year. Jason Giffen helps me pull these numbers. This is where our students come from. Where do they live? So look at that wide range geographically. We're incredibly proud of the fact that our students come from 40 different zip codes. That, I think, is also a testament to the strength of this place. And the word is out. And of those 547 students, about 20% of our student body receives some sort of financial aid to attend North Shore. That's a fundamentally important part of who we are as a school. That has been the case since the day we opened our doors in 1919. And it is going to continue to be that. And as you can imagine, that can be expensive. We believe it's important to us as a school, to our mission. And one of the goals that we have is to continue to help grow our endowment to support scholarship in particular. And then finally, as we talk about school budget, this is outside of the operating budget, but we as a school really only have one fundraiser a year, and it's called The Benefit. It usually happens every February, and it rotates amongst 3 different topics: student scholarships, faculty support, and student experiences program. So our benefit is coming up at the end of February, and I hope you'll join us. As of right now, it's planned to be on campus, and it's planned to be in person in an appropriate way. If that needs to change, we will communicate out about that. But I hope you'll join us. You'll be receiving an invitation soon in the mail. It's a great night, and it's for a great cause this year for our teachers who have given so much during an extraordinary time. Okay, and program. I'm going to do just a quick overview of the things that are going on, particularly because it's hard to get a view in these days because of COVID. Here's another wonderful quote from Perry Dunlap Smith, our founder. And this still is true for us today. Lending a hand in the common solution of impenetrable problems and achieving a common goal. Those are things that we believe are fundamental to education. And in particular, learning to cooperate successfully. A huge portion of our project-based and student-centered model of teaching is collaboration. And collaboration, as we'll talk about a little bit later, is a fundamentally important skill, maybe more important than ever for our students as they enter into the workforce and into the world. So a quick update here. I'm not going to read through all of these. So our early childhood program, our JK and SK program, it is the happiest place on earth. Disneyland doesn't have anything on us. It is a wonderful, academic, joyful, playful environment. Active learning, all of the wonderful things that you see on the screen, a balance of nurture and care and learning and instruction and all kinds of wonderful things. If you have gone through early childhood, you know about Cinnamon Bear and you know about the musical tea and the things that make this an incredibly wonderful place for young people to learn with our wonderful early childhood staff. Lower school, you can see up here a number of things. These are some of the elements of the program that are continuing to evolve. We're always evaluating what it is that we do. So right now we're looking into strengthening our math program to make it even more robust than it is. Looking into our literacy work, how do we continue to add opportunities for students to strengthen those skills? How do we measure what we do? We've always taken a test called the Terra Nova every other year to gauge skills. And we've decided that there's a better test called the ERB. And we've already started shifting towards that. So we get an even greater and wider metric that we can use to benchmark ourselves from. And then one of the most critical things about our lower school program are what we call the specials class. The homeroom class is obviously the anchor for our lower school students, but we have a number of specials classes, as we call them, that are fundamentally important to the education as well. And we are always working, you'll hear a little bit about this later, to integrate the work of our specials in with our homeroom and our core academic program in the lower school. Middle school is such an important time for kids because they're not only learning material and skills, they're learning how to learn, how they learn. They're learning who they are in ways that they really never have. So there's a wonderful combination in the middle school of academic focus and social and emotional support and learning at a time that can be really confusing for kids. And so what you see up here is we've got a lot of work happening right now in advisory groups and in grade level groups for kids to have constant conversations about identity. Who am I as a middle schooler? Who am I as a learner in middle school? And that goes along with all the foreign languages they learn and math and science and reading. And then also all of these clubs. There's a wonderful opportunity. These are all student-led and created clubs. And that's really important, that agency for middle school kids to follow a passion, but also to collect together around common interests. So things like our middle school athletic program and Science Olympiad are just other ways that our middle schoolers continue to grow through grades 6 through 8. And then once we get to high school, we have a wonderful high school. My daughter is a senior, and you've got all of the benefits of a robust program with all of the attention that can come from having small classes and having incredible relationships with teachers. These are just some of the newer things that we are talking about these days, a new set of electives that we are beginning to roll out for next year, which I think are really quite exciting. A lot of emphasis this year on just fun and connection. The dislocation around COVID, some of the isolation around COVID and different types of remote learning. We've worked really hard to make sure that the high school kids have lots of opportunities to connect with each other in the different parts of the day. Our upper school calendar is unique. It's a powerful calendar that allows for long block learning, but also allows a lot of time for collaboration with teachers, consultation with teachers, and connection with each other around clubs and social time, which is so important in high school. And of course, part of our program has always been athletics, arts, and service as fundamental to who we are. High School Musical is the play this year. You should look forward to seeing that in March. And we'll talk a little bit more specifically about arts and athletics below. Interim week is a distinctive part of our upper school program where we stop normal classes for a week and students can choose between 20 and 30 different deep dive experiential learning experiences. Some of them are travel, not as much these days. Many of them are service related, but there's also lots of opportunities just to dive into an interesting topic with a group of students who you might not know, or a teacher you might not know as well. And that's a week-long program, normally in November. That'll be coming up for us in March. Okay, in college counseling, for those who are interested in the upper school, our college counseling office is about the best in the business. It is an incredibly personalized, thoughtful system. It's always a stressful topic, but it doesn't have to be. And our college counselors are excellent at working with students and parents as they work towards finding the right fit college for them. You will learn, if you're in the upper school, about this amazing program and about our amazing college counselors. Our arts program, this is one where you need to see it as much as hear it. We take the arts very seriously, and we always have as a core part of our program. These are just a few examples of what's been happening this year between acting and chorus and visual art and dance. We have so many opportunities, instrumental ensemble, and we believe that the arts is part of a holistic educational experience. Same is true of athletics and has always been true. And we have a robust middle and upper school athletic program. We have had a tremendous amount of success, but most importantly, we have a huge participation rate. So we have a shelf full of trophies. We do really well, especially for our school our size. These are just pictures from fall teams. Really, we had 258 athletes competing in the fall between the middle school and the upper school. And that's really important to us. We believe that sound mind, sound body is part of a core education. And it's a testament to our coaches and the athletic directors and to our students, our athletes and parents. Okay, I'm going to shift to the second part, which is just a deep dive into a few topics that are high priorities this year. They all come out of our strategic plan. And this is a document that I hope you'll take a look at. There's a lot in there. The website is down here at the bottom. It's on our website under the leadership page. This document is just nearing kind of the end of its lifespan in some ways. We're going to revisit and begin a new strategic planning process next year, assess how we did on our previous goals, and redefine our goals for the next few years. So I'm going to highlight just a few. There's been a lot of work done in different areas. One of the major buckets is an interconnected, innovative educational experience. And one of the core to that, the language is here on the right, is building a curriculum of skills that goes along with and helps to organize our content knowledge. So this quote on the left, I use it all the time because I believe that it's true. What are the key skills? What are the killer apps for our kids? To be problem solvers, to collaborate, and to be able to function fluently in a range of settings and with an entirely diverse range of people. That's the world that our kids are graduating into. And this is one of the ways, the main way that we're looking at training our kids to be ready for whatever comes next. This is the skills diagram, as we call it. And we know that our goal is in the middle, for our students to lead and contribute as ethical global citizens, straight from our mission. And we think that these are some of the most important skills that we're working to foster JK through 12. So we could debate and talk about, which is the most important and what could be included, but we're starting to orient and talk about every grade, every class, different assignments and assessments, how they align with these ideas. I think this is an incredibly powerful educational lens to use. I think it's one of the things that we already do really well in so many ways, and is one of the things that's going to continue to define us as a school as we hone this work. Part of that, and also a focus from the strategic plan, is an emphasis on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We've put a lot of work into this program over the last few years. Our assistant head of school, Mary Fielder, is leading the charge. And I want to tell you just a little bit about it. This is a JK-12 initiative. Our science, our math, our technology programs, our art programs are increasingly integrated and increasingly ambitious. Some of these things that you see up here are being amplified in the way that our students are learning the skills that we talked about before in the context of technology and math and engineering. Just one quick example that I just thought was so interesting, I had to include it. Our second graders did a project this fall called AI for Oceans. And they, at obviously a developmentally appropriate level, learned how to train a machine to recognize things that should be in an ocean. And really the goal was, they kind of said, if it looks like a fish, you know, it's probably supposed to be in the ocean. And if not, it might be trash. And how do we train a machine to perhaps extract trash from the oceans? Well, it didn't take long for the kids to realize that machines are only as good as the program that they have. And there were certain things like starfish and jellyfish that didn't really fit, but also belonged in the ocean. As a result of that, they started to ask questions. Well, what happens when machines miscategorize or leave something out, or don't include something that should be there, or remove something that should? The ethical implications are small when we're talking about trash in the ocean, perhaps, but beyond that, the second graders engaged in a conversation around the implications of training machines inaccurately. Finally, at the end, because this was based upon plastic in the ocean, the students actually collected bottle caps from all over their homes and from school, and used the style of artist Chris Jordan to create this beautiful picture of an albatross. And then they did a public service announcement about trash in the oceans using iMovie and creating a video. So that's the kind of project-based interdisciplinary connection that we're trying to build JK-12 through an emphasis on STEAM. Middle school has, here's a picture of middle schoolers doing robot challenges. They built these machines out of circuits and cardboard. They do that in their technology class, but we also have projects that are very much interdisciplinary and skills-based happening in middle school science as well. The Inventors Challenge asks the kids to come up with ideas and prototype and 3D print or laser cut in the Live and Serve lab in the library. And the seventh graders are currently doing a Mars lander project, which is sort of like a modified egg drop project, where they need to design and engineer basically a Mars lander for their astronaut, which is an egg. And what they're going to find out is that it's not just a kind environment. They have to try to research and understand what Mars's environment would look like. And from there, they have to adjust accordingly and try to plan their engineering around it. In the upper school, we have these things up here. We have a 4-year arc of computer science courses. Our math curriculum really extends through multivariable calculus, and there's also independent study. We also have advanced independent science research that happened, and is a really interesting way for kids to follow their interests and passions in science. And then we have just what's happening in the science classes all along the way. In AP Bio right now, our students are doing DNA fingerprinting and gel electrophoresis, things like that, to make sure that they are learning through project-based experimentation. And these are just some of the additions to that program, which includes some dedicated teachers. some extra work on robotics and coding, and in the upper school, projects in the Live and Serve lab, including an entrepreneurship course that is aligned with the garage at Northwestern, which we piloted this year. The next bucket from our strategic plan, I'm going to start moving faster. I'm about 3 minutes behind, is our equity, diversity, and inclusion work. And this is also, just like our skills work, fundamental and related to skills as far as preparing our kids for the world that they are participating in and going to enter and hopefully going to help lead. These elements on the right from the strategic plan reflect the Board of Trustees' full commitment back in 2017 to continuing to grow as a school in terms of all things related to EDI. And in particular this year, through the work of Lauren Collins, we've tried to begin outreach to parents as well and communicate about the work that's happening in school. This is Lauren. If you haven't met Lauren, our Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement. These bullet points here on the left are a major part of her charge when she was hired. They're trying to highlight the connections between the kind of school culture and environment that we hope to foster and the work that the students, parents, faculty, and staff and trustees need to do to help get us there. And you can see up here that it aligns with looking at our curriculum, looking at our school practices, and looking at ourselves and how we work to recruit and retain a diverse student body and a diverse faculty body as well. This work happens in all three of the divisions and really is obviously geared to the developmental appropriateness of each age group. In particular, as we are working through this, a huge portion of this work is understanding ourselves. Who are we? What is our identity? How do you define identity? How do others define their identity? We in the lower school have used these 5 words: inclusion, respect, integrity, kindness, and compassion to organize our work. And we'll continue to do so as we work with our teachers and we all try to grow in our own knowledge and skill set in order to support our kids. In the middle school, there are structures around particularly understanding identity that happen in what we call learning circles twice a month. And middle school parents get a letter home after learning circles about what the topic was that day. Wake Up Wednesdays, focusing on building community and deepening understanding of our identity. Looking at our curriculum, is our curriculum inclusive of all different sorts of perspectives and voices? Because those are the perspectives and voices that are reflected in our increasingly diverse student body and world. And then again, faculty work has to happen so we can be good guides for our students. In the upper school as well, that curricular work continues. Again, multiple texts, multiple perspectives, understanding identity itself as we get into teenage years. Again, what is teenage years, but trying to understand who you are in the context of others. We begin we have student affinity groups for different groups of students, as you see up here, who choose to enter those spaces in order to find common connection. We also have conversations around hot topics in the news and try to learn how to understand difference and maybe even disagreement in a way that can still be generative and respectful. So the next bucket from the strategic plan is a balanced, vibrant place to learn, work, and grow. And obviously that's a high priority for us as a school. And one of the ways that I think really we try to focus on that for our faculty and staff is by investing in professional development for our teachers. This was the charge on your screen from the Board of Trustees through the strategic plan. And it's one that I fully support because really one of the things that I think you can use to measure the strength of a school is how much really they invest in their professional development and how much they invest in their people. And at North Shore, we're blessed with resources to support our teachers in any number of ways. And here's just a few examples and some of the things that I wanted to mention. Obviously, conferences, workshops, webinars. What are ways that teachers continue to hone their craft, to build their knowledge and content and skills? Obviously, webinars have been a pretty big part of the last 2 years, but we're looking forward to having more conferences and more workshops, both here on campus and out in the world. Continuing education is really important, not only so our teachers know that they can continue to grow, but for us, it's really important in terms of retaining the teachers that we want to retain and attracting more great teachers to add to the ones that we have. So we're able to support some of our teachers in getting master's degrees or even doctoral degrees. And then finally, summer grants. A lot of work has to happen in the summertime because we are so busy during the rest of the school year. And we support grants for teachers not only to do curriculum development, like our middle school team worked on our EDI curriculum this year, but also just personal growth. We have one teacher who we were able to help support classes at the School of Rock so they could learn the guitar. So we tried to support people not only as professionals, but as people. So professional development. And finally, a strong, reflective, ambitious school. Those are all qualities that I hope we represent every day in the work that we do. And the example that I wanted to use here was facilities. Part of our strategic plan was to refine and create and implement a campus master plan with particular focus on our athletic facilities and our library. We've begun that work. And this is what our campus master plan overview looked like. This is about 5 years old now. As you can see, some of them we've already accomplished. So the number one on the list was renovating the hall library, and we did that. And we have rebuilt the lower school science lab, and we created the Live and Serve lab, which is busy all day, every day. Those are huge, huge accomplishments for us, and they move the program forward. In addition, the next two priorities are here on this list. Our athletic facilities and what we call the Learning Link to support the lower and the middle schools. And I can tell you a little bit more about those. The McCarty Gymnasium project. This is a fundamentally important project for us, and we hope it's one that we can get off the ground relatively soon. If you've been in the Mac gym, you know that it's a lovely old gym, but it is old and it is small, and our school has grown and our program has grown. So our intent is to not only renovate the Mac gym to bring it up to the standards of the rest of our campus, but also to build on an additional court space and additional wellness spaces to support our program. And why is this important? Because it's a JK-12 building. Our PE classes, our wellness classes, our school gatherings, our interscholastic athletics all depend currently on the Mac gym and on our smaller West gym. And our program has grown and evolved enough where there are no longer sufficient spaces for us to do what it is that we need to do to support our students. And so we're continuing to work towards this goal. You can see a diagram here. It would be massively impactful on our campus. It would support all of our students, teachers, and staff. And one of the realities is it's going to cost us a good amount of money. And as part of our upcoming capital campaign, we're going to be focused on the Mac gym and its expansion and renovation to support all of those programs. And then finally, the what we call the Learning Link is a space in between the lower and middle schools, both of which are squeezed for space. And we're looking to add some classroom and science lab spaces in there, and also looking to build a learning center that supports our reading support and learning support staffs who work with so many of our students. And just to have a space where drop-in tutoring and always knowing that there's teacher support there. It's something that we do really well, but we don't necessarily reflect that in the facilities that we have. So to support the lower and middle schools in particular, but all of our programming, the Learning Link is one of our highest priorities in terms of facility and in terms of this part of the campus master plan. So what's coming ahead? Well, we're very much hoping that the Omicron wave is going to subside and that we're going to be able to continue to advance these strategic initiatives that you heard about tonight, but also all of the daily work, the great work that's happening in our classrooms every day. So we're looking forward to that space and having our full slate of activities again. We're especially looking forward to welcoming our parents back to campus more than they have been recently. And then as we look ahead to next year, it will be time for us institutionally both to initiate a new strategic planning process, which we do every 5 or so years, and that will align with our school reaccreditation process through the independent schools of the Central States. We do that about every 7 years, and it's time for us to begin. Finally, we hope you'll keep in touch. These are different ways that you can follow us at school. And we would be happy to have more eyes on the work that we do on social media, on YouTube, so we can share the good news that's happening in classrooms. So please take a look at some of these sites and follow us if you can. Finally, this is a quote that I always like to hit at the end. It's a real quote. I didn't make it up. But I think it really summarizes why we all do this, even through some of the hardships of COVID and just a difficult landscape. We really believe that we are creating programming, we are creating opportunities for the next generation, the ones who are going to get out into the world, who are going to serve, and who are going to lead. And if we can help them see more opportunities, if we can help them think of their horizons as infinite, like this student did, we can rest well and feel great about the work that we're doing. So as I close, I want to say thank you to all of you and for the support of the school, for the trust that you put in us. We know that it is a hard time, and we believe that it is a privilege to be able to care for your children. And we take that very seriously, and we never take it for granted. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for your support of North Shore Country Day and of our teachers in particular. And want to say thank you and have a wonderful night. With that, I'm going to end. I'm going to stop share, and we will get into some questions. Okay. I think the last thing, oh, here's one question. Good. 2 questions. So first one was with the changing numbers and what we hope is the downward curve of the Omicron surge, do we anticipate changing policies? And I think happily the answer is yes. We clamped down a little bit again over the course of the last few weeks. We really are looking forward very soon to expanding back again with things like student access and parent access. And we also have changed and are in the process of communicating out around return to school policies to align with the CDC guidelines that just came out last week. So you can, I will send out a communication in the next day or two about that. But for those who might have COVID or have been exposed to COVID, we are changing our enrollment or our return to school plans to reflect. Is there a plan to expand classroom enrollment sizes? Not significantly. We have the happy situation where the lower and the middle schools are about where our targets would like to be in terms of enrollment. That's a great thing for us. It might mean for those who are applying that there's fewer spaces. but we don't see a lot of room for growth in the lower and middle school. And we have just a little bit of space in the upper school. So I'd say we're nearing our target enrollment size as a school, which is an incredibly exciting moment for us as a school. I had a question. There was a mention on this slide, a question about the Penn Fellows Program and why North Shore was chosen to participate in that. So our Penn Fellows Program is a wonderful program for training young teachers. And it is a collaboration between some of the finest day schools in the country, really, from Boston to St. Louis to Chicago. We were one of the founding members of this group, and it gives an incredible training to young teachers who get experience in our classrooms and also earn a master's degree through the University of Pennsylvania in education. We are really proud to be one of the schools in that program, and we have had some unbelievably wonderful young teachers who have come through our program here at North Shore and are now off teaching with their master's degrees. We have a question about using lockers at school. This is mostly a middle school question, and we have not been using lockers at school for the middle school most of the year, frankly, because the middle school locker rooms are very, very small spaces where lots of kids tend to cram into those spaces. So we have begun opening up some of those locker rooms for students to store their coats and their boots and their things during the winter time. We are not yet using individual lockers, but there are spaces for kids to leave bags and materials and books between classes. And we'll continue to revisit that. Let's see. Are there any plans for socials and dances for the middle school or upper school in the spring? We're certainly hoping to move that way. We felt very fortunate last year, especially for our upper school, that we did have a prom here on campus, which was a lovely event. We are planning prom in the upper school this year. As for middle school dances, those are under discussion. We're going to have to see. As you can imagine, it's really going to just depend on, if these numbers continue to go in the right direction. We have had social events for each of the middle school grades over the last few weeks, months, 2 months, and we're going to continue certainly to be doing that. But we anticipate that things are going to certainly continue to open up unless we get some other curveball. I have a question here about the entrepreneurship course and the partnership with Northwestern. This is a new opportunity that was incredibly exciting this year. The garage at Northwestern is essentially their entrepreneurial incubator space. Under the leadership of Melissa Kaufman at Northwestern, they have really built an amazing program that has taken off in Northwestern. We were lucky enough to have a relationship with the folks at the garage who approached us and said North Shore would be a great place for us to try to think about what a kind of pre-college entrepreneurship class would look like. So with the partnership of Drea Gallagher, who is the director of the Live and Serve Lab, and with Melissa Kaufman from the garage, we piloted a course in the upper school this year with 5 students in the first semester on the entrepreneurial mindset. And they learned not only what are the skills and mindsets and dispositions that you need to get into that kind of sort of endeavor, but also they built their own projects. They had to create either a social impact project or a business project and develop it from an idea into, if not a reality, into almost a reality. And they had to pitch their projects. And the feedback we've gotten from kids who took the first semester has been really fabulous. There's a second semester that is beginning, that's just begun. And we're hoping it's something that we can continue to build out through the Live and Serve Lab. Okay. Looks like our questions have slowed down, and we've now gone about 20 minutes past where we promised we were going to. So I apologize for that tech snafu. Thank you for those of you who stuck with it. We will work really hard to get this piece together. And most importantly, thank you for your support of our school, of our teachers, and thank you for trusting us with your children. It is something that we take very seriously every day. And even through the trials of COVID, it's been a privilege. So thank you for tuning in tonight and for supporting our school, and look forward to seeing you hopefully on campus quite soon. Take care.